The following video was recorded on stolen Aboriginal land. CEDA acknowledges the first people of the land on which we live and work and pay our respects to elders past and present and emerging.
I'm sitting in Coffs Harbour. My gearbox decided to pack it in yesterday. And unfortunately, I can only stay till 2:45. I've got to actually pick up another vehicle because the place closes at 3:30. But what we're here to do today is to really just do a run through of why we're actually changing the Constitution and to answer any questions that people might have as a result of the process we're going through. This is our second session. We held the first one last Thursday, and we recorded the first 11 minutes of that, plus the closing. We didn't actually, besides Andrew and myself, we didn't actually have any participants at that meeting, but the actual video has been viewed 18 times, so that's that was good. The number of people have actually looked at it. The process we've gone through with this Constitution started about 2.5 to 3 years ago, about talking about updating the Constitution to reflect that CEDA, that was started back in 2012, had become a peer-led organisation. We got to a point where we were just about ready to submit that to the membership when we found out that the New South Wales government had updated the Legislating Corporations Association Act and had put out an up-to-date new model constitution, and so we went through the process again to make sure that we've actually been able to do that. So that's why we're here today. And I'm just wondering if we could just go around the room and do two things. One is if people could just introduce themselves, it's their name and what part of the hunter they come from, and if they have any questions that they'd like to let us know, we can make a note of them and we can answer those as we go through. So, Andrew, would you like to start? Just lead the process around the table, and then we'll go to the people that are online.
Yeah, sure thing, Douglas. Thanks for that. Sorry about your gearbox. Before we do, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country, if you could. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we're all on. Obviously, you're further up north there, Douglas. We're here on Awabakal land in the CEDA office. I'd just like to pay respects to elders past and present and to those emerging leaders in the local Aboriginal community, and to acknowledge that this land was and always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you. I'm Andrew Boddick. I'm the CEO of CEDA.
I'm Christine. I'm the president of CEDA.
Yes, my name is Stuart McKinnon. I live in sunny Islington, and I'm interested to know what will be the process after. I'm presuming that we're going to get enough numbers over these meetings to affect the change to institute the new constitution. And secondly, if so, how long is it going to take before it comes into play? And will it go to any material change in the way that the organisation can operate going forward?
Thank you, Stuart.
Enya.
I'm Enya. I'm a board member at CEDA and I'm from Callan.
I'm Cataline. I'm the office manager at CEDA and I live in Tice Hill.
Interpreter Sarah. And interpreter Narelle.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Douglas. Who do we have in Zoom land?
I can see Billy. Do you have any questions, Billy?
Not at this stage. Just good to be here with you all. I don't know if it's Stephen.
Stephen?
Oh, hi, I'm Stephen. I'm a member of the board of CEDA. I don't have any questions at this point in time.
And Julie?
Hi Douglas, it's Julie here. I'm at East Maitlandville. MP worker.
No questions about the Constitution, Julie?
Not at the moment, Andrew, but I'll get back to you.
Thanks, Julie.
My screen has gone blank. I can still hear people. The question I thought that was it Stuart asked a question about what would be the process after today. My understanding is that on Tuesday there'll be a notice going out to all the current members of CEDA that we'll actually be having a special general meeting on Zoom and in the office prior to the AGM, where we will need 10 people, what's classified as a quorum, to be able to pass this constitution. If we don't have the 10 people there within 30 minutes, the meeting will be postponed for a week. And the people that turn up the following week, my understanding is will be the quorum. So there's a possibility, like today, there are 9 people here. I don't know how many people are actually members, but Catalone has been creating the members registry. And I hope that answers your question, Stuart.
Right. It does.
We currently have 158 members.
Yes, that's right. I think we've got about 6 here today.
Andrew here, Douglas. Just adding to that, with the special meeting having 10, they must be obviously current members of CEDA in order to be able to vote on the constitution, on the proposed constitutional changes. And adding to your other questions, Stuart, one of the other questions was, when will that change in constitution, if successful, when will that take effect? It will take effect virtually from the AGM, which will follow straight after the special meeting for the Constitution, and it will basically take effect from that point on.
Andrew, I don't want to contradict you, but it actually needs to be submitted to the Department of Fair Trading, and we will then get a notice that'll come back and say that they've actually accepted it. So it can take a month to 6 weeks for us to actually be able to then use that new document.
Thanks for the clarification, Douglas. You're dead right.
Well, my screen is it's come back on, and I can now see everybody in the office and on Zoom, which was, I don't know, it just disappeared again. So I don't know.
You can see your screen, Douglas. Oh, we could.
Yeah, can you see me?
It's gone again.
Yes. I don't know whether I just felt my computer and it's the back.
Douglas is frozen. Oh, no, something else. Application was not able to start correctly. Shame.
Okay, scramble. What do we need to do? Adeline, you're able to pick up Constitution and load it up onto this computer so that we can see it.
Oh, just a moment.
He's saying Douglas is gone now.
This is like back to COVID, isn't
We're
it?
going to come back in.
I'm not sure which documents Douglas wanted to show and what his story was.
Douglas it would be the PowerPoint that Douglas wanted to talk to.
Oh,
Hello, Doug.
Computer is just dropped right out. Just trying to restart it again.
Yeah, so what is the document you want to talk to, Douglas?
Well, it's the draft constitution that Colleen has finalised the comments on. It's in the MAG board channel under Constitution Working Group. I did actually have it up on the computer, but it just disappeared, Andrew.
Yeah, no, we can see that. It disappeared along with you.
That's right. Yes.
So what we're going to do is Cadeline's going to try and bring that up, and then I'll give Cadeline the microphone to talk to that. Are you able to see it from where you are, Douglas, or have you got nothing now?
No, I've just rejoined, so I'll turn my phone off, Andrew.
Righto.
And I'll actually bring it up on the screen.
Billy's saying we can see you now.
So Douglas, with all the hats you've got, have you got a tech support hat? And maybe a mechanical repairs one while you're at it.
Yeah, we've got that one.
No, everyone got one. Sorry.
Well, they tell me these sorts of things happen in three, so if there's a possibility, I just may drop out and not be able to get back in. But what you can see there in front of you, this is the document that Colleen's been working on. It covers the 18 areas that when you're doing constitutions, that you need to cover things like membership, what our purpose is, how you actually organise meetings, what do you need to do if you have a special general meeting, how we handle the finances, and the description of the executive. So I'm just wondering, is there, I'll just take you down. You can see here where this is what Colin's got on the front. This document will be presented to a special general meeting on the 23rd of November at 3:30 p.m. on a hybrid Zoom and in-person meeting at our head office, 202 King Street at Newcastle. There are some 2 pages of tables of content. You'll see the first section that actually has information about membership. And what we now have is two types, or we will have once this is passed, we will actually have 2 types of members. We'll have full members, and to be a full member with CEDA, you need to have a disability and also have put forward a form to apply for membership or renew membership. And as Caitlin said, we have some 158 people that have done that. Part 3 is about the functions of the board and what how the board's actually made up. And the only change we've already made to that section is we've increased the number to 9. The reason for that, it's around good governance, is actually having the 4 executive, and you have 5 what they call ordinary members in the Constitution. So you're always got more ordinary members on there than you have the executive. Just keeps us in line. It also shows how people actually get elected to the board, and the length of the term of office, and what happens if there's any vacancies. If people have any questions, we can actually, if you were to put your hand up or raise your hand, I can see the screen now, and since I've taken the power off, it seems to settle down. This is my computer, has settled down and behaving itself. More than happy to take you to the section that you might have a question around. You'll then see where it talks about how to run board meetings, what notice we need to give people. Section 25 most probably was one of the sections that we had quite a bit of discussion at the board. And what we settled on was that there would be at least half plus 1. So if we had 9 members of the board, that we would actually have 5 people to be a quorum to hold a board meeting. If we had 7 with a couple of vacancies, we could actually have a meeting where we had 4 people. So that was one of the, I would say, major changes. Previously, we only needed to have 3 people as a quorum for the board. Another interesting point was in section 27, which is around voting. And what's been interesting, I've been involved with CEDA since about 2017, and I've been on the board since 21. And while we move motions and vote, it's pretty straightforward in this current document what you need to do. Anybody have any questions around?
What is the new vote? What is the new voting system as compared to the previous one?
Can you repeat that, Andrew?
What is the new voting system compared to the previous one, Douglas?
There's actually no changes. Um,
So the
we-
process,
the previous system was we needed to have a vote at a board meeting, someone would move. We usually have the discussion first. We then move a motion. Someone seconds it, and we actually then vote. We just find that that's easier than actually like moving a formal motion and a second and then having the discussion. So we do it partly because we like to work by consensus, but that section 27 really reinforces that. Would you like me to go forward to section 27 so you can actually see what the actual words are?
Please.
yes, please.
Was that yes?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Would you like me to read out the actual words?
Yes, please.
Section 27, voting. A decision supported by a majority of the votes cast at a meeting of the board or a subcommittee at which a quorum is present is the decision of the board or subcommittee. Questions arising at a meeting of the board or any subcommittee appointed by the board are to be determined by a majority of the votes of members of the board present at the meeting. Each director present at the meeting of the board or any subcommittee appointed by the board is entitled to one vote, but in the event of an equality of votes on any question, the person presiding may exercise a second or casting vote. Is that okay?
Is there a definition of what present means at a board meeting? I.e., you've got people on Zoom as well as in the room. So is there a definition to describe that present basically encompasses both those in the room as well as those on Zoom?
Yes, there is a definition of the person is actually chairing either the board meeting or the subcommittee. It is in there. I can find it if that would help, Stuart.
But I'm happy to take your word for it. All I'm just trying to do is to pick through some of the things that might be more unique to a CETA board than to other boards, in that people might not physically be able to get board meeting, all kinds of challenges that ambulatory people wouldn't confront. So that's the only reason I'll ask, is just for that reason.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, Douglas, I'll just add to that if you want. When we convened and worked around this, they were considerations we very much took into account. And there is definitely, I don't know exactly which section it is, but there is a very clear definition of the makeup of a meeting that actually takes into account either online or present physically. for those very reasons, and also highlighting around reasonable adjustment as well for board members as well.
We do have and we're very lucky today. We've got our chairperson actually in the meeting, Christy, and there's a couple of clauses in there that states that if, for instance, when we have a special general meeting that's been organised by the members, if the chairperson is not physically in the meeting can actually elect someone to actually chair the meeting. And so what that does, you can see there by clause 27.2, is that person, if we had an equal number of for and against, has the option to have an additional vote. And the majority of our meetings now are held both in person and on Zoom. Our board meeting, for instance, is are held on Zoom on the third Tuesday of the month from 4:30 to 6:30. And if, for instance, the chairperson can't be there, we have a deputy chair, or we'll actually ask someone to chair that meeting. So does that answer your questions, Stuart?
Absolutely. Thanks very much again, all that, Joel.
Right, well, I'll just go back to, because we're just still going through the table of contents. And this document will be available if you to have a look at over the next 21 days. If you have any further questions. So you can see there, we're just talking about section 27. General meetings of the association. A general meeting is when all members set out an invite. If there's something like the change of the constitution, that needs to go out 21 days prior to the actual meeting. And that's given the meeting's on the 23rd. On Thursday, that we'll be organising to make sure that goes out to everybody. Because we use everybody's email addresses, that in itself is enough to actually satisfy what's required with for us to actually notify people. There's a number of things in there about what's on the notice, what the quorum is, and we might go and actually have a look at section 33 just to see what a quorum is, so we're all aware on the 23rd of what the numbers that we need to make sure to have the meeting. You can also see there section 34 is if we don't have the quorum, what we have is what's called an adjourned meeting. Section 35, and this sort of answers the question that you had, Stuart, around the presiding member, and that's the person that if Christy chooses not to chair that meeting for whatever reason, we nominate that person during the meeting. It also shows us around what we can do with voting, whether or not we have postal or electronic ballots, and what business can actually be transacted at the meeting. So I'm just going to go ahead to section 33. And so this is just preparation for the meeting on the 23rd. So you can see there that section 31 is about special general meetings. And you can see there that the board may call a special general meeting whenever the board thinks fit. And that's what we've done for this on the 23rd of November. It's not because we received 5% of the membership wanting to have a special general meeting. That's just if someone decided that's what they needed, they would need 5%. So you would need 7.5 people. And I'm not sure whether that's the top half or the bottom half of members requesting that we actually had a meeting. It needs to be in writing, state the purpose of the meeting, and it must be signed by the members making the request. We then move to section 32, which is the notice of the general meeting. And the secretary, and I'm currently the secretary, must give each member notice of the general meeting, and that's what we're doing on Thursday. If the matter to be determined at the meeting requires a special resolution at least 21 days before the meeting, or otherwise at least 14 days before the meeting, the notice must specify the place and time at which the meeting will be held. And like over the last 6 weeks, we've actually been letting people know that we've got this special general meeting happening on the 23rd. The nature of the business is to accept this document, and we thought the best way was to actually have some information sessions, and we had one last Thursday and one today, where hopefully we can address any questions that people will have, so the meeting on the 23rd will go smoothly. There will be a resolution that we accept this document as is. You'll see there under section 32.3, the only business that may be transacted at the meeting is the business specified in the notice. And so we couldn't suddenly at that meeting, someone might come up with the idea that it'd be great to do something you viewed with CEDA. If we haven't had something in writing, that couldn't be considered. One of the other things that we'll be having at the special general meeting, we're currently required under the current constitution that if a member, once they've served 3 consecutive terms, that they need to, the board needs to decide that it'd be like that it would be in CEDA's best interest that that member continue to serve. And as part of the notice that will be going out is that the board actually moved a motion some 8 months ago that we would like Christy to continue on in her role as chairperson, and so by doing that, that will be at the board meeting. Hopefully, that will be passed.
Can I just say I'm very. Can I just say I'm very grateful to my board and their people. Having a belief of confidence in me to do this. Yes. And I have made a decision today with the group that I would like to continue with some of this. I'll make it.
Thanks, Christy. I didn't have to buy a lunch.
That's great news to hear, Christy.
It's very good news, Douglas.
Yes. Just looking at the in the new documentation, the quorum for a general meeting is 5 members of the association entitled to vote under this constitution. In our old constitution, which is what the meeting will be run by, you actually need 10 people. So if today had been an example, under the new constitution, we would have been able to hold the special general meeting. But if because we'll be operating under the old constitution, we wouldn't have been able, this wouldn't have been a properly constituted meeting. But you'll see there, it says, if a quorum is not present within half an hour of the time the meeting commences, if called on, the request of members is dissolved or otherwise is adjourned to the same time of the same day in the following week, and to the same place unless another place is specified by the members presiding at the meeting at the time of the adjournment, or in a written notice given to members at least one day before the adjourned meeting. If a quorum is not present within half an hour of the time an adjourned meeting commences, but there are at least 3 members present, the members present constitute a quorum. So on the 23rd, and that's very similar to what's in the original constitution, if we don't get 10, the meeting will be postponed, adjourned for a week, and if 3 members turn up the following week, we can actually we can go ahead and pass this document.
Douglas, if I could just add to that, Andrew speaking. For those who either want to see constitutional reform and change, or those who don't, that's the great thing about democracy, is I really implore members to attend, because I know that a constitutional reform special meeting is not exactly an exciting ticket to get people along to. But if you really believe in the direction of CEDA going into the future, this is a real solid moment to have your say. And it's an hour out of your life. And, for 157 people who are members of CEDA, it would be great to see a strong turnout for that.
Yeah, so I have heard that there's some inducement with food and drink for those who are actually in the office. You will have to stay for the AGM, which will be a little bit after the meeting, but I believe there is some inducement for that to happen.
Very true, Douglas.
Section 35, and this is the answer your question earlier, Andrew, Stuart, about what is a presiding member. It says the following member presides at a general meeting is A, the president, B, if the president is absent, the vice president, C, if both the president and vice president are absent, one of the members present at the meeting as elected by the other members. The member presiding at the meeting has a deliberative vote in the event of an equality of votes, a second or casting vote. And then it goes on to qualify around who can actually vote at the meeting. And these are very similar to the what's in our current constitution. But you can see there's not a lot of changes as to what was there before. Anybody got any questions? Okay, well, we'll just come back to the table of contents.
And Douglas, you're only with us for another 30 minutes, is that correct?
Yes, but you'll see there, Andrew, we're powering through this. Yes, that's right, for another 30 minutes. I'm hopeful that within that time, Andrew, we'll have got to the end of the document.
Excellent. Thanks, Douglas.
You'll see the last part of the Constitution is around how the organisation is managed. And Section 39 is if we want to change the name, the objects, or the Constitution, that will actually spell out from this point forward what that means. In our current Constitution, and I'm not going to pull that up, we're currently following the process that we were asked to do by the original members. And my understanding is that there's no changes between that section and this new section. Section 40 deals with our funds. And we're very lucky today. We've got our treasury here that reports regularly on our funds at our board meeting. And looking forward to seeing at the annual general meeting, the AGM, how substantial some of our reserves are, and that really reinforces the good management that we have with both Andrew and Caitlin and Stephen with that oversight. Stephen, did you have any things you'd like to say about funds?
Well, only that, yes, Theatre General is in a healthy position, which was our plan over the last 2 years to make sure that Theatre General was in a healthy position. Given that our funding is uncertain, given that it's decided by government grants, and you never know when the government's going to decide not to give you a grant. So we're always hoping to get additional ILC funding, for example. But we do have, as Andrew can no doubt explain in detail, a fallback plan to keep CEDA operational, even in the absence of government funding for a period of time. So we have a strategy. Douglas.
Thanks very much for that, Steve. You'll see Section 42. It talks about our what you call a non-profit status. Section 43 is around the responsibility around sending out notices. We talked a little bit about that earlier, about what that means. It also, Section 44 is about how we actually look after our records and books. And because we are a member organisation, we'll just have a look at that section shortly. And also Section 45 is if someone wanted to have a look at the books, what do they need to do to be able to do that? Section 46 is around when we have our financial year, and our financial year goes from the 1st of July till the 30th of June. So at this AGM on the 23rd, we'll actually be reporting on what we've actually done from the 1st of July 2022 to the 30th of June 2023. And that's a pretty big job in itself, but looking forward to that. And the last section, which is Section 47, that's actually on the last page. It's most probably, from CEDA's point of view, it's one of the main clauses in the Constitution. It's what actually allows us to have DGR status. DGR status is the donation of the gift recipient, where people can actually make donations that are taxable, tax deductible, and if you don't have that in there, you can actually lose that. So I'm just going to. Does anybody have any questions before I just take you through to a couple of those sections so you can actually have a look at how they're worded?
do we have, any, specific guidance around, which are the kind of organisations which, are suitable or non-suitable to be, a donor to the organisation? For example, I can't think of anything specific in the disability area. For example, if a big coal company wanted to donate. Now, I know we're not in politics here. I'm using that as an example of an organisation that might be inappropriate. Now, I'm not suggesting we're talking coal companies at all. I'm just saying if there was some kind of inappropriate company wanting to give a lot of money and therefore the influence on their organisation via that donation, because they can always withdraw it. Is that considered to be something relevant, or am I basically just blowing the pictures and making that suggestion?
That's actually covered in part 2 of the Constitution, Stuart, around membership generally. We do have a section in there where family members, people with a disability outside the hunter, and also organisations. And what it states in the Constitution, which is in section 3, is that they actually need to align with our aims and objects.
Can I add to that too, Douglas and Stuart? It's a great question actually, because with some of the entrepreneurial work that we're looking to do into the future, we're in the process, and we've virtually put it together now, of having an ethical engagement strategy for CEDA with anybody that we actually work with, and what those boundaries, guidelines would be beyond the vibe, which is why we've called it the vibe. It's so we're not saying, oh, well, we don't like them. That's not a good enough reason. We have to have a clear rationale, because operationally and for the board, there's a protection aspect to this too. When somebody comes back in 2 years' time and says, this organisation offered you $2 million and you didn't accept it, what were the grounds for that? So we can't just go, oh, we didn't like them. There has to be a really clear and concise decision-making process, and vice versa. If we did take the money and then we say, what are you doing working with them? You know, they're into funding offshore detention, for example. I'd have trouble with that. So to be able to say, we don't believe that their processes or their organisation falls in line with CEDA's values, and we can clearly articulate that. Yeah, great question.
Yeah. So
That's true. And you'll also see is when you look at our aims, which is clearly set out there in right at the very beginning of the organisation, one of the things that membership form would come to me, one of the things I do is actually go on and actually have a look at the annual report of the particular organisation. And one of the questions would be, how many people with disabilities are engaged either in the workforce or on their board? And if they didn't have either of those things in place, you'd have to really question them under our aims. But then you come down to the objectives.
Is there a move on from that, Douglas and Stuart? I think it's a pretty clear case in point, and given the time constraints, I think we can pretty well talk to that at length. Additionally, outside of this particular forum, but yeah, I think it's a really strong message there, and a really important one.
Yeah, and you see our objects there is to promote the aims of CEDA through information, advice, mentoring, peer support, training and development. Be a collective voice of and for people with disabilities, and share our collective lived experience to empower people with disabilities to have voice, choice and control. And you'd pick that up fairly quickly, like when you looked at those documents. we'll just go down towards the end of the document. So I do want to you can see section 39 is what we need to do if we do want to change any of our name of our objects or our constitution. And that can be made by either the public officer or a board member. And that's what we've done. Section 40 is around how we manage our funds. Our funds come from our interest fees and annual subscription. We've decided to waive that for members. Donations, other sorts, are determined by the board. And we have a number of grants that we have applied for over time. You'll see there with section 41 to do with insurance. It's good to see that's in there. And I'm sure Andrew could give us a list of our all the different things that we cover with our insurance policy. Section 42, which is about the non-profit status. The association must not conduct the association's affairs in a way that provides a pecuniary gain for a member of the association. So at this time, we don't people can be members, but they can't actually be on the board as a and gain any sort of employment. We have a clause in there that clearly states that if we set someone a task to do something and there's some out-of-pocket expenses, people can actually have that. This was a thing that created quite a lot of conversations because we are moving towards creating what we call the disco. And Andrew will give quite a lot of information about where we're up to with that. And we decided instead of trying to sort that out now, that would be a recommendation that would come once there'd been some more thought about what would be the new model and the way we'd work, so that everybody has the opportunity to gain some involvement from the disco.
Can I just take that back one step, Douglas, just where you're saying about members who are on the CEDA board not being able to work, it's only not being able to work for CEDA. So yeah, if you want to work outside of CEDA, that's fine. But not undertaking paid work within the organisation.
That's right, yes. You'll see section 43 is what we need to do if we want to give someone a notice. We can deliver it in person. We can do it prepaid or by sending the notice by electronic transmission to an address specified by the person giving or serving the notice. And that's one of the main ways we do that. People actually give us an email address, and that's held for that. Just the last couple of sections. One is there about the custody of records and books. All our documents must be kept in New South Wales at our main premises, and our main premises are where some of you are sitting at the moment in 202 King Street. And the person who looks after those documents is Caitlin. You wanted to have a look at them. Section 45 tells you that we don't charge to have a look at the Constitution, and our current Constitution is available on the ACNC's website that we would report to on a regular basis. People can download it. Minutes of board meetings and general meetings of the association. Record books and other documents relating to the association. And people may inspect a document referred to in subclause 1 in a hard copy or in electronic form if available. A member may obtain a hard copy of a document referred to in subclause 1 on payment of a fee of not more than $1, as determined by the board for each page copied. The board may refuse to allow a member to inspect or obtain a copy of a document under this clause that relates to confidential, personal, commercial, employment, or legal matters, or if the board considers it would be prejudicial to the interests of the association for the member to do so. So it's good to know that it's there, but there are also some safeguards there around that we just don't hand out willy-nilly confidential information. And I can think of a number of commercial in confidence things that we're working on at the moment that just the nature of what of that business is could be detrimental if it was to suddenly be able to be out in the wider ether.
It's just Andrew here. I'd really like to re-emphasise the amount of time that the subcommittee spent looking into this aspect of it, particularly in reference to the anxieties and concerns of many CEDA members who are very concerned about the safe storage and handling of their personal membership information. So really very keen to make sure that that was really a lot of deliberation was undertaken on that particular aspect.
That's right. Section 46, it just reinforces when the financial year is, and at the AGM, that'll be the period that we're actually focusing on. And I'm really looking forward to that meeting. And this is the final section. It's about if we ever had to wind CEDA up, this particular clause clearly spells it out that we couldn't actually suddenly buy a large yacht for Andrew to sail off into the sunset on. He is a member, but he's not an organisation where it says, subject to the Act and Regular, in winding up the association, the surplus property of the association must be transferred to another organisation with similar objects and which is not carried on for profit or gain of the organisation's members. So there's quite a bit of thought if we ever got to that stage about who that might be, and the ACNC might even step in and say, no, we don't believe that would be in the best interest, and may even appoint someone to actually have oversight on that. And you'll see there it says, in this clause, surplus property has the same meaning as in the Act, Section 65. I'm not going to pull that up, but it's just a place where people can go and get more information if they so choose. So that is the last, section 47, that is the last section in the Constitution. I'm just wondering, does anybody have any other questions before I just, we've got about 9 minutes before I need to leave. And there is one other thing that I'd like to just show people before we actually do leave, or do I leave? You know.
If nobody else does it, Douglas, do you think we've clearly highlighted what the changes are to what the proposal is for what a CEDA full member is?
Well, that's where I was just going to go back to the membership details. Nobody sort of asked that question earlier, but that's where I was just going to go back and just reinforce the, what a CEDA member is and how members can communicate with other members. So it means we go all the way back to section 3, which is the section on membership.
While you're finding that, Douglas, we can discuss what size yacht I want.
How many feet?
So to be a member of CEDA, an individual is taken to be a member of the association if the person applied to be a member under clause 3.1 and the application has been approved. So that's the first part. The person was one of the individuals on whose behalf an application for registration of the association was made under the Act. So when we actually have the special general meeting on the 23rd of November, those 158 people will automatically have their membership renewed. You'll also see there where it talks about if someone was registered as a member of an association who was representing an organisation, they would also be included that as an associate member. But we don't actually have anybody in that clause. So, and while we're having a meeting on the, I think it's the 21st from memory, I don't think we'll be actually having any organisations that put forward membership. You'll see clause 1 brackets 2, a person who is not an individual is not eligible to be a member of the association. What that's saying is that if we did actually have any organisational members, that doesn't allow them to become like a member. They would then fall into what we call associate members. To be a full member, people need to have a disability residing in the Hunter region. A person with a disability, and they must reside in the Hunter. And you'll see there that we've actually got it looks like there's something missing, but that's just like an oversight when someone's being been typing. We've never really around as to how we know people have a disability. It's very much word of mouth. Nobody's really ever asked me to see my qualifications. I have what's called a psychosocial disability. I got that back in 1992 when I went on to the disability support pension. I do carry, as a proud card carrying member, my little pink slip, but I've never been questioned as to whether or not I actually have a disability. And that's because on the form, it's usually someone needs to know you when they put forward.
Just have a comment here.
Douglas, I think this is a parallel to this is First Nations people. It's a private matter, really, what your disability is. I think it should be, if I say I've got a disability, well, that's how I identify as a person with a disability. And I think that's as far as it really needs to go. I mean, I think that if I was causing trouble, I was obviously kicking down the street rather than sitting in my wheelchair. Well, obviously, you might sort of question if I was on the board and I was doing the wrong thing, and about the situation like that in my career. Other than that, I think our membership is basically relevant to the self-declared status of what individual being either fully able in every way or for some form of disability.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stuart.
Well, it would be, we would, speaking as a board member, we could have really, I've been up to different, discrimination between my person, for example, a person's disability was talented. That's the reason why we got, why we allow self-identified.
Totally agree. I think that process, and thanks to both of you, because that really clarifies it really very much the argument that we always talk about at CEDA is that all means all. And the day that we start saying, show me medical records or proof of your disability is just, it's draconian and it goes against everything that CEDA is about. So.
Yes, it's very true. This section here, which deals with associate memberships, this is going to bring the biggest change for the organisation. Family members, up until this document comes into force, were able to be full members and with voting. We haven't had, like over the 2.5 years that we've actually been sending out information about the work we've been doing around the Constitution, we've never had any feedback that I'm aware of from family members. We have some 980 people on our mailing list when I started working on this. When we send out something, around about 60% of those people will actually open and have a look in the first mail out. And so you'll see there, as we go down through, to be eligible for this category, you must be an ally to a person with a disability, or an individual must be a person with a disability who resides outside of the Hunter, and C, representative of the organisation that align with CEDA's aims and objectives and values. You'll see there that they have no voting rights, but they can actually attend meetings, and if they're recognised by the chair, they can speak at meetings. I now need to leave the meeting because I unfortunately, as I said earlier on, my gearbox is broken down. It's going to cost $5,800 to fix it. I might be asking for a donation from anybody that's got any spare cash, but we'll worry about that when I go to pay it.
Ben, I couldn't quite hear what you said. Sorry.
But yes, people have my email address. It's douglas@cedar.org.au. And as I say, we'll be sending this notice out with the copy where you get access to the Constitution on Thursday. And I'll hand it back over to you, Andrew, as my co-chair to finalise the meeting, okay?
Absolutely, Douglas. And before you go, just once again commend and thank you for the massive amount of effort that you personally have put into this process. I know that there's been a lot of input from the board and particularly from Christy with the inception of constitutional shift and reform. But your particular efforts, Douglas, have been Herculean to say the least. So many thanks. And I think the reward of a broken gearbox at the end of this is not very fair. So.
Thanks, Andrew. And I won't be in the office on Thursday because I'll be catching a Greyhound bus at 4:10. I was planning to be there around lunchtime, but I'll be thinking of you on Thursday, okay?
My shout for lunch this Thursday?
No, I won't. The bus doesn't leave here till 4:10, and it doesn't get into Newcastle till 10:50.
That's why he's shouting.
Oh no, it was his turn. Like he's very. We do it from time to time just to.
All right, I'll catch you next time, Douglas. You better go and fix your gearbox. So does anybody have any last comments before we wind up this meeting? And once again, thank our interpreters for once again a great job. Good shuttle work there. Anybody on Zoom have any last thoughts or comments?
Not really, Billy saying no.
Okay, going once, twice, all done in silence. Anybody here from the gallery?
Yeah.
Hang on, Stuart.
Well, I just think it's been an excellent
Call the exit.
piece of work that's been done. That really does help step the organisation up a really firm way of sorting out any of the potential gaps in the previous constitution. And I just think it really helped future together on this constitution.
Many thanks, Stuart. Couldn't have put that better. That's just fantastic. Christy, final words.
I would just like to thank the board for pushing through this process that I hope that we remember to like it, that we can move forward and after the idea. Because I think most of the rest of the senators should be going in, and I'm very excited to have this direction realized.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. Great. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so I think we can pretty well wind up. Enya, anything from you? Good as gold. What's your dog's name?
Reggie.
Oh, Reggie. Anything from you, Reggie? Good. Thank you very much, interpreters. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And thanks to all those board members who not only spent a lot of time helping to put this together, but also came along today to field any questions and to be involved. Caroline, thank you very much for all your help and support with all this. And one person who's not here, who's gone home, is Colleen, for some of the crackerjack work that Colleen's done on really just the change to the model rules that happened 2 months out from when we were going to do this, which really threw everything back up into the air. But it's really, Colleen did a magnificent job in just putting together what we wanted to do in with the new model rules that will really set this forward so that we not only will have a very solid fit for purpose constitution to change at the end of this, hopefully, but we will also have one that fits in with the newest template for model rules within New South Wales. So it just, as you say, Stuart, it really sets us up to a really robust future. It's future proofing. It's great. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.